cultivating strength, balance, and flexibility of heart and mind, as well as of the body. So let's all just stand up, and I hope you'll be able to see me as I step back enough from the camera for you to see my feet. And just taking a few moments to take a stand by standing in our lives. And we're engaging in this, as usual, in a very playful and open-hearted and open-minded spirit. And if standing's not possible for you, no problem. If you need to modify whatever we're doing or not do it, no problem at all, because it's just one more door into the same room. But it's a very, very powerful door. And I usually start my day with at least 30 minutes of mindful yoga before going into sitting. And as I've been suggesting, sometimes doing it early in the morning before the day gets going is a very powerful way to assert some kind of agency over these tumultuous times that we're finding ourselves in. So let's notice that standing is something that's quite remarkable and a true balancing act of itself. And it took us a long time to learn how to do this. Can you all hear me? Wave if you can hear me. Is it okay hearing me? Good, okay. So this is a balancing act, standing on 2 feet. And then what I'm gonna suggest is that we slowly let the weight shift to one of our feet and raise the arms up and see if we can't just stand here gazing out at some point that's fixed on the wall or out the window or wherever you're looking, so that you're actually standing on 1 foot and cultivating the balance that we've just been talking about, moment by moment by moment, mindfully. And you can flap your wings if you want to think of yourself as a bird, but just playing with what the body can do. And very powerful to do this in the morning first thing, and just sets you up for the entire day, turning the entire day into a mindfulness practice. When you're ready, slowly letting the foot come down so that you're standing on both feet again. Watching the breath come in and come out, and feeling a full cycle of the release of whatever kind of effort and energy is required to balance in this way. And then same thing on the other side. And seeing if you can fall awake as much as possible so that you're not forcing or striving or tensing to be balanced, but just cultivating a sense of intimacy with the possibility of balance, and how much strength you have to develop in the leg that you're standing on, as well as balance, and flexibility in the spine to be able to move, if you will, in one way or another and still maintain your balance. And so here we are. Just like Leonardo da Vinci's Renaissance human, in the circle, in the square. Completely proportioned at a human scale, the human body, balanced, strong, flexible, and awake. And when you're ready, slowly coming down, and just dropping right back into standing on both feet. And if you want to do the Leonardo da Vinci figure again, in that way, you can spread your arms and legs out in this kind of a way with an equilateral triangle, and a sense of your humanity, the dignity of standing like this, someplace between heaven and earth, or the past and the future. And our domain is right here, right now. And since we really don't know what's going to happen in the future, and never did, it's even before the coronavirus and the pandemic, we never, ever know exactly what's going to happen in the future. but we can control the future to some degree, sometimes to an enormous degree, by taking responsibility of the only moment we ever do live in, which is this one. And so the more we can live fully and be mindful in the present moment, we've already transformed the future, because the next moment is very, very different, because we've dropped in fully and inhabited this one. So just feeling that for a moment or two, your own strength, your own rootedness to the floor, your own groundedness, the measure of a human being, the beauty, the dignity. And at this moment, not taking for granted the breath and your health and the fact that we are able to do this in this moment and we don't know about the future. So really appreciating the gift of this moment. And when you're ready, slowly, slowly, slowly letting the arms come down and maybe walking your feet back together. And here we are again. And then in whatever way you care to, resuming your seat. And seamlessly moving from standing to sitting. The same awareness that we've been cultivating since the first day. Grounded for now in a sense of the body as a whole. Before it was standing, now it's sitting. We needed to move in order to make that happen. If you're lying down, of course, that's fine too, whatever posture you're in. And marveling at the fact that this in-breath does itself. If it were up to us to be breathing, we would have died a long time ago. We're not reliable enough to actually breathe the body. That's taken care of for us, although we say, I'm breathing. But if it was up to that you who claims to be breathing, you would have died, gotten distracted, got a text, a phone call, dead. So we're not actually allowed anywhere near the biological apparatus that keeps the breath moving in us. And this is all the more poignant in a time of COVID-19, because that's exactly where the virus strikes. And then we can't, no matter what we try to do, get our breath in, because the lungs are compromised in a variety of ways that we certainly don't need to go into here. But to really appreciate what we have while we have it, and the beauty of it. And it's been this way since you were born. But often we're so busy, we are on to something else. So now let's drop into silent wakefulness, anchored in a sense of the body, sitting here breathing. It's all taken care of. And our only assignment, if you choose to accept it, of course, is to rest in the awareness of the body sitting here breathing. And whatever is going on in either the body or the mind or the world, we're just going to let that be in the wings. We're not pushing it away. We're not pursuing it. The welcome mat is out for everything, but we're focusing center stage on the body, sitting here breathing. Moment by moment by moment. And this is thousands of people around the world, keep in mind, all together with the intention and having had to make room to do this and to tune in and to get on the live stream through YouTube if you didn't make it in time for the first 1,000 on Zoom. So a lot of busyness to get here, but now we're here. And can we simply be here fully? Moment by moment by moment. And resting in awareness, trusting and playing with the possibility that for now and right now, there really is no place to go. Nothing you have to do in this moment other than to fall awake, which takes care of itself. And no special something or state or whatever you might idealize as being the end point of this practice. The end is the beginning here. You're already awake. You're already whole. You're already who you are. And the question is, can we realize it right now? Moment by moment, breath by breath. Keeping in mind that whatever crosses your mind is part of the curriculum simply by virtue of its appearance. And our awareness, as we've been seeing, is vast enough to hold it all. And we're stabilizing our attention so that over time we can actually recognize anything that arises in the field of awareness and not have it become a disturbance, but rather simply be recognized as an event in the field of awareness. And we can simply maintain our own presence and equanimity and clarity in the face of thoughts and emotions and the past and the future and anxiety and boredom and irritability and anger and any possible mind states or body states, including discomfort or agitation that arise. None of it is who you are. And so your awareness, or the awareness, can simply allow it to be as it is, as we said last time, like weather patterns unfolding in the mind. And if you feel the need to tether yourself, to anchor yourself in some degree of familiarity and constancy, then the body is the place to take that stand, to connect. And so we have this breath coming in and the full universe of sensations of the in-breath and the out-breath, and how they express themselves in the whole body, sitting here in a posture that embodies wakefulness, dignity, open-hearted presence, intimacy with the inner world and the outer world, which were never separate. And so we discover that this engagement that looks so much like nothing turns out to be just about everything, and can really stabilize us and cultivate the kind of resilience that's absolutely critical to a time of such uncertainty and stress and outright pain and fear. Whether you're self-distancing and isolating at home for this extended period of time, or whether you're one of those intrepid people that is called to go out there and be on the front lines in one way or another in keeping other people alive and our social networks alive, our food supply, the help that people need in any and every way. And we're all part of that because we're all collaborating in kind of what they call mitigating the infectious spread of this virus that humanity has never seen before, and to which our respiratory tract and lungs are so vulnerable. And for now, here we are in freedom, the boundlessness of this timeless moment we call now, in full awareness. I'm guessing that most of us, if not all of us, are at home and we say that we're at home. Ask yourself, how at home are you right in this moment? How at home can you be in your body? Not by trying to be at home, but by letting go into being fully here. How at home are you in this moment in your own heart, with everything that's going on in the heart, everything the heart is carrying, which is, of course, the root meaning of the verb to suffer. And we're all suffering and carrying a lot. How at home can you be with that? Embracing it in awareness and allowing it to be just as it is. How at home are you in this moment with your own mind? And how oriented it is now to the news and the future and the looming dissolution, those who have contracted the virus and are at highest risk of actually not getting through for whatever reason, in what appears to be very, very, very large numbers in many, many countries. But for now, how possible might it be for us to simply hold all of this in the mind and embrace it with wisdom and equanimity and clarity and kindness, but realizing as well that right now, it simply is as it is. And how we are in relationship to it can make all the difference for ourselves and for our loved ones and for the world in what happens when we move out into the rest of our lives today, tomorrow, and going forward. And it's all right here, right now, in this boundless spaciousness of our own exceedingly human, uniquely human, multidimensional, multifaceted, knowing and not knowing we call awareness. And so this time, as we draw this formal guided meditation to a close, I won't ring any bells, as I've said before, to really symbolize and emphasize that there is no end to this meditation practice. Life itself is the meditation practice. The good, the bad, and the ugly, it's all one curriculum. What Zorba, the Greek, called the full catastrophe of life on this planet. And let's not forget the good, the beautiful, and the deep interconnectivity, the flowering of life that we're a part of, and that's such a huge mystery. So today I'm not going to spend much time talking myself, because I'm so interested in what you have to say and your questions that I think it might be valuable for us to simply move now in the time that we have, which is about 30 minutes, to anything that you want to share or a question that you want to pose or anything you want to help to inspire us. Excuse me. As we move forward with these. So I'll now invite Soren to help us by raising your hand if you want to be unmuted, and he'll unmute your microphone.
Thanks, Jon. If you click participants, there's a way of raising your hand. And once you raise your hand, we won't be able to get to everybody, but John Bashu, who's working with me, and I will choose you. I'm seeing Franco from Italy. And just know that you will be visible to everybody here and on the internet. So if you're not wanting to be seen,
Ciao Franco, buonasera.
Ciao Jon, ciao tutti, hi to everybody. And lots of enormous gratitude to you, Jon, to Soren, and to this huge community. So during the meditation comes to my mind the words that you sometimes are used to mention, words about Dante Alighieri. You know, in the middle of the journey of our life, I found myself in the dark forest, and the straight way was lost.
La via smarrita.
Exactly. So I think that we lost the right way many times ago, and this is the moment to find the light in this moment of darkness. Mm. So my question is from myself and also from some friends of the MBSR community here in Italy, in Motus Mundi, and I want to speak for all the MBSR teachers, that in this moment there are some perplexity also to move to teach MBSR online, live online. I had this opportunity in this last month for the coronavirus. It was the first time. We are not used to teach online in Italy. And but I found the people a lot sense of relief and the community sense of to be in touch and to sustain, to support this difficult moment. So my question is, can you give us some suggestion, your opinion? We are also sharing this digital way that is giving a lot of joy for myself, for all of us. And I want to bring this joy and this support in the MBSR. In this moment, the online is the only way. So what do you think, Jon?
It doesn't matter what I think, actually. Every one of us needs to follow our own heart and to trust, to trust that everything is in our interconnectedness. So we might feel, I certainly feel the same. I mean, I'm not used to being online digitally in this way and no script. And I'm trying really hard not to script it and, have it be, sort of, I'm just reading something or, but to just trust that what emerges by us coming together is necessary and important. So I would say, not just to you, Franco, but to all MBSR teachers and everybody who has something that they feel they want to reach out and share or connect around in this world, to actually do it, because we are in a new world at the moment. We're never going back to pre-COVID-19. This is a global moment that is really either a lesson we're going to learn about wakefulness and selflessness and liberation and freedom and the nature of what it means to be truly human, or we are going to go back into a nightmare scenario of neoliberal capitalist control or whatever it is, to the point where the levels of suffering and the levels of disregard and differentiating between the haves and the have-nots is only going to go to nightmare proportions. And so I think this is a critical time for us as humans to wake up to the fact that the metaphor I sometimes use is we're all cells of the one body of the planet, or of the body politic, so to speak. And we need to take far more responsibility for that deep interconnectedness because without that, all of these kinds of, there's a whole history of times of crisis being times when the government takes over more power, and it gets normalized so that it's very, very hard for the power to actually be distributive among all of us. But that's like, to say, the heart taking over all the blood and not letting the liver have any because it doesn't like the liver, or it doesn't like the way other muscles look in the body, or bones or something like that. If every cell of the body doesn't get enough blood supply, that's not good for our long-term health, as even the heart. So we need to learn how to recognize each other in ourselves and find a new way to live on this planet. Global warming was going to be an issue no matter whether we had a pandemic now or not. But Bill Gates predicted that we were going to have this pandemic only 3 or 4 years ago, and people did not listen to Bill Gates, which is quite remarkable given how much he has been able to contribute in this world. And now we need to wake up. Mindfulness is all about wakefulness. It's all about realization. It's about freedom. And we need to find ways to introduce that into our politics, into our economics, into our ethics, into our education systems. And we need all hands on deck. I said this, I think, the other day. If we are on Buckminster Fuller's Spaceship Earth, then now's the time for all hands to be on deck, because the spaceship itself is under giant threat. And it's very important when we have this pandemic behind us to not forget about it and go back to what used to be normal, because that normal was the cause of an enormous amount of inequality, injustice, and suffering that is what we need in order to wake up to the possibilities for humanity and life way beyond our own species on the planet, and not in the next 1,000 years, but not even in the next 100 years, but I think in the next 5 or 10 years, for the sake of our children, our grandchildren, our grandchildren's grandchildren. That's, as far as I'm concerned, what the stakes are. So I appreciate you asking this question, because I know there are a lot of people out there who are MBSR teachers, MBCT teachers, MBCP teachers. I won't go into what all these letters mean. And many of you who are on this call, every single human has something to share with the world. Now's the time to actually embody what's deepest and best in ourselves, and not worried about how it's going to look. Whether we're going to be completely coherent, or whether we are going to make mistakes or anything like that. Let's trust in our truest nature to actually take care of not only us, but the world. That requires a certain kind of bravery, Franco. So you have to go beyond what you think your capacity is. And that's part of the mindfulness practice, is to not believe your own PR about how incompetent you may be, or who am I to teach this kind of Dharma practice or whatever. Who are you not to do it? And then learn from it. You'll learn from whatever it is that you choose to do, if you choose to actually do it. You know this. I'm not telling you or anybody else anything that we don't already know, but sometimes it's helpful to hear these kinds of things about 50 billion times before it gets into our thick skull.
Thank you.
Ciao and grazie. I love you.
Sarah from Qatar. Let's see.
Hi.
Hey, Sarah. How you doing?
Well, welcome to you.
Well, I'm half English, half Egyptian, living in Qatar.
You're forgiven. It's not a problem. We're all in that kind of
mix.
Unexplainable circumstances.
Well, I actually have a question. So I'm a journalist. I digest news 12 hours a day because those are my shifts. And I find a lot of the time that my adrenaline levels are really high. I absolutely love what I do, so I don't want to ever do something different. But I also have fibromyalgia, and for those that don't know, it's overall pain that I get, and I really struggle as someone who's fairly new to mindfulness to be able to practice it, knowing that there's always this pain there in the background as well. And so like even during these sessions, I've listened into every one of them. It will be everything from like my eyelids hurting, or I fidget a lot, I have to move a lot, so that breaks my concentration or focus, I suppose, on my breathing. And it's trying to marry those two things together, and I try and observe the pain, but I guess I still haven't figured it out really, and that's
Okay, the you that's asking this question is not going to figure it out. But the question itself is very, very profound, where the question is coming from. And if we could see everybody's hand who's on this call, there are going to be thousands of people who are in the same boat, because that's part of the nature of having a human body, is that sometimes, you know, the body carries a lot of pain. And there's a kind of distinction that's sometimes useful between pain and suffering. So there's the bare actuality of the sensations, and then there's the emotion behind it, and there's the cognition behind it, the meaning we attribute to it. And so what mindfulness offers you is a new way to be in relationship with sensation, whether it's pleasant or unpleasant or neutral. And that is, in all cases, and this is something you can play with, and I would suggest you play with it very sort of adventurously, but not try to force yourself to feel anything, is that you just put the welcome mat out for the sensations, and you ask yourself, how is this right in this moment? Whether it's your eyelids, whether it's your shoulders, whether it's your jaw, whether it's wherever the what we're calling pain is in the body, could we actually investigate whether what I'm calling pain isn't merely discomfort, isn't just sensation that we have a label for and we don't want it? What if you actually turned the table on it, did a little keto on what we're calling my pain, and just put out the welcome mat for it and experiment with it, just as you're doing in this session, to just let it be there, not fight with it. And I wouldn't even say let it be there. I would say let it be here, invite it in and befriend it and see what happens. And then here you can ask yourself a question that I was going to suggest later on this week, but since it's coming up now, let's start now. And that is, you can ask, is my awareness of my discomfort or pain or whatever you want to call it, wherever it is in the body, is my awareness of the discomfort actually suffering? And you can see there's the sensation, and then there's the awareness of the sensation. Are they the same or are they different? So that's something you can play with. And the more you actually exercise that muscle, the more I think you'll find that your discomfort, whether it's on a 0, a 1 on the scale of 1 to 10, or a 10, is something that is workable, that you can actually work with it, that you can actually invite it back into the framework of your life and ask it even how, what it needs, what your body needs in this moment. If it's fibromyalgia, I mean, we've had thousands of people who've come to MBSR with fibromyalgia, and they have actually, they don't learn it from us, they learn it from the practice, how to be in wise relationship to it so that you can learn to live with it. Then usually when you learn to live with it, it tends to dissolve over time. So the long-term prognosis is very positive in terms of like not having what it is that you most don't want to have. But in the beginning, you want to try to force anything to go away or be different from what it is. So I wish you all the best with that. And again, having a human body, this is something that's actually relevant for all of us. Sooner or later, we're going to run into pain and suffering in the body. And it's one of the reasons that the body in the formal, this traditional Buddhist framework for mindfulness, the body is what's called the first foundation of mindfulness. And it is actually spoken of as a liberative practice. And one of the things that we can liberate ourselves from, and the most important thing in the end, is suffering and the understanding the nature of suffering. And that has everything to do with the nature of who we think we are, the nature of I, me, and mine. And that I had the thought I would go into that more tomorrow and the next day. So thank you and good luck to you, Sarah.
Thank you. Thanks very much, Jon.
Okay, actually, Jon, we have one from a friend of yours who will appear in a moment.
Hi there, Dan Siegel.
Hey, Jon. Thank you so much for these incredible sessions. It's been beautiful to be here with everyone and with you guiding us through this. This is a very specific question. It came up in yesterday's session with you about frontline workers and our medical staff who are in this incredible position. And tomorrow, Alyssa Eppel and Eve Ekman and I are going to do a session with about 2,000 frontline workers to try to introduce them to some of these ways we can cultivate resilience. So my question to you is, given this situation now in many countries, and many of our medical professionals tomorrow will be from the United States, but everyone is welcome. You know, there are not enough ventilators. So in their life's purpose to help people, they actually don't have what they need. And as we know, they're making decisions of life and death that are just unthinkable, and the pain of that in them. So how to help them with that. And then it goes then to the personal side for them. There's not enough protective gear.
Yeah.
So they are seeing people with medical illnesses that are threatening their lives that they themselves may get. And then the third layer of the many, many layers is they're then going to go home to their loved ones, their family, and risk, even if they don't have symptoms, of being contagious and giving vulnerable elderly who might be living with them or people with other vulnerabilities. So what wisdom can
And there's
you
a
offer
fourth
us?
one too, is that they're being told that there's plenty of ventilators and that there's plenty of personal protective equipment now, and what's the big deal?
Yeah.
So we're living in a kind of real catch-22 universe that is absolutely grotesque. It's a nightmare.
And what do you
And I
suggest?
really appreciate your asking this question, and also a deep bow to you and Alyssa and your colleagues for doing this tomorrow with them. I hope you can post and send to Soren a post where we could all like tune in, because even if we can't contribute anything, just being there in some sense, although we can't be there physically, I think would be uplifting to the frontline people to know that we care, and to the degree that we could have their backs, we would have their backs. But I think your question really drills down to the life and death dimension of mindfulness, that this is not some dime store cognitive behavioral intervention that to help people feel a little bit better. This is about life and death and looking it straight in the face. No one ever wants to do that under any circumstances. And you painted the picture quite vividly. So the question is, what are the options? And the options are to go into battle and face death, either with a turbulent mind or a clear mind, and also with maintaining as much cautionary control as you can over protecting yourself under conditions that are not optimal. And that's kind of like, there's no one right way to do that, but I think the more you give people a sense that that's part of the meditation practice, that's part of how you self-regulate, moment by moment by moment, with no sleep, and maybe not having seen your family for weeks now because you're afraid to go home and you don't want to do that, or you do go home and you're paranoid about touch or how clean your hands are or what you're breathing on or whatever. And there's no simple answer to this. I mean, you know, it's very important that we articulate the questions and ask them of each other and share the suffering and the pain, and then still encourage people to, that it is possible to rest in the not knowing mind, not be so caught up in the fear element, which is simply fear because we don't know what's actually going to happen. All we could talk is probabilities. It's more likely, but it's not all. And then trust in emergence, because we can't trust in our own government speaking in the United States, or in they're having gotten the message soon enough to actually make it all work to optimize the well-being of the people who we're depending on to actually care for ourselves. And the ventilators is another story. I mean, it's like, yeah, if you're making decisions about who's going to live and who's going to die, well, you know, these are kind of battlefield conditions where they triage people in those kinds of ways. Nobody who's signed up for emergency medicine, or all of the people who weren't trained in emergency medicine who are backing up the emergency people, really are prepared for this. So it's like, again, all hands on deck, and we're doing the best we can. But I think the metaphor of not losing your mind when you most need it is incredibly important. And that's where the human dignity and why we went into medicine in the first place really, it comes down to that. And it is hugely heroic, and at the same time, just unbelievably human to experience the turbulence and the fear that these kinds of conditions, especially since they're so unnecessary, have put us in.
Is there something, Jon, in your experiences in the acute situation where these are not like long-term, you know, I'm motivated now, let me learn mindfulness, but now I am suffering. What can I do right now to learn these? Have you experienced that in the past where someone in an acute situation like this, what's the best strategy
to hold
to offer
on to
the
breath? You hold, I'll tell you, there are a number of them, but the one that I would say is most powerful when the proverbial stuff is hitting the proverbial fan and you're losing your mind, is you treat your breath as a kind of life preserver. Okay, and you hang on to, I will even use the verb cling under these kind of conditions. Hang on to the breath sensations while you're intubating somebody, while you're going from one person to another, while you're making these kinds of choices. You hang on to that breath as if your life truly depended on it, not simply because it does literally, but because that's, without the kind of training that, you know, in meditation that often takes years and decades to, you know, sort of, we don't have the time for that. Plus, the ultimate result of that is that you be in the present moment anyway. It's no big deal. So those years and years of practice, it's possible to basically move into that breach instantly. But the advice that I would give, if you ask me for the one thing, it would be to hang on to your breath as if you there was no tomorrow, and you just needed to give your full attention to whatever was in front of you right in that moment, and not be so called to distraction by fear that you lose your competency and, in some sense, your integrity. And that's easy to say, by the way. That's not so easy to do. But if I were in your circumstance tomorrow, that's basically what I might fall back on.
Thank you, Jon. Thank you.
Please share that link with us, because if it's at all possible, I would like to be on that, in that world. And I'm seeing a lot of thumbs up from other people. I mean, since they're saving us, we who represent the ones that are not sick yet, we should be there. We should have their backs, even if it's just online, even if it's just kind of, digital rather than analog, or material in some way. And it's very important for them to know that we're part of their, heart pumping, so to speak, and crying with them for the horror of the circumstances that they have put themselves into.
Great. Jon, do you have time for, I think we have time for one
I think
more.
we can do one more. I'm looking at the
Anya,
time.
we're unmuting you now. Let's see. Anya, can you speak? Can we hear you?
Hi there, Anya.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes. Where are you located?
Great. In Brussels, Belgium. So, well, first of all, thank you so much for doing this. It's such a huge gift. I'm certain that I and many other people here would never, ever have the chance to meet you live. And now we have, so it's really fantastic. My question was double. when we were doing the yoga here, I'm actually finishing myself an MBSR teacher training right now. It has helped me enormously in getting rid of horrible migraines, amongst many other things. So I'm very, very grateful for the program itself. But I still have quite some inflammation in my entire body, basically. So if we do a movement like this, I can only hold my arms up for a couple of seconds, and then I really have to put them down. Lying yoga is quite impossible for the moment. So my question would be, what do you advise patients like that to do, as there is indeed a lot of yoga during MBSR?
Okay, first of all, I would suggest you throw out the word patient and not attribute that to yourself anymore, but you're just a person, not a patient. And then I'll just tell you that this is workable and or playable, that you can play with. Okay, so you can only hold your arms up for so long. Then you feel how it is before you drop them. Automatically take one more half breath and just feel the fatigue, feel the discomfort, feel what you most want to get away from, and then listen to it and lower your arms, okay? And then feel what the result of that is in real time, in the present moment. And then play with maybe raising them up a little bit once again and see if that's okay, or taking 5 minutes and then playing with it again. But if you're determined to reclaim your body, I can't tell you how many thousands of people I've seen with that diagnosis who have found ways to actually reclaim the full mobility of the body and to learn to live with the sensory domain that does not respond to these kinds of practices, but to a very large extent, again, people will often say, I've learned to live with my pain, okay? But the important thing is the living. And then over days, weeks, months, years, decades, I tell you, I mean, I hear an awful lot of anecdotal stories, and we've done follow-up studies that this actually changes for people with chronic pain conditions, their whole relationship with their pain, so that it no longer erodes the quality of their life. So it's workable. The bottom line is it's workable if you're willing to do a certain kind of work that really is more play than work. And it involves a certain kind of curious investigating of what you most don't want to pay any attention to at all. You just want it to go away.
Yes, so you would advise to continue to do it, even though I can
at your
only do
pace,
10%?
at your pace, listening to your body, okay? And not do everything, but to do the things where you feel like you can at least move in a little bit. And over time, your body will teach you what you need.
Yes.
So I would love to just go on for the next 10 hours. I know some of you, it's like the middle of the night, you know, so, but to just say, as we draw this hour to a close, we will still have another session tomorrow, same time, same station, and Friday as well. And then Soren and I are going to reassess about what we're going to do next week, but I'm hoping that we'll just keep going. I don't see any reason not to keep going. We may change formats slightly or whatever, but so for now, why don't we take the remaining moments? Oh, one other thing. When maybe I'll just wave my hands or something like that. Soren is going to unmute all of you, and you're going to say whatever it is that you want to say, goodbye, whatever. He did that the last time, and it was so moving. So please stay on and just share the humanity that there were over 900 of us still on after an hour, to just realize we are the cells of one body. And there are 115 countries represented, or were the other day. And there's something about that that's a lesson for us to learn. And we're in you know, sort of our infancy in terms of learning the lessons of interconnectedness, of ethics, of wisdom and compassion, and of dealing with our own interior motivations that are driven by greed, hatred, and delusion. You know, and we're seeing it played out in spades these days. So very briefly, reestablishing yourself, if you care to, in a posture that embodies wakefulness and dignity, and letting this moment be what it is, this moment of now. Letting go of everything that's come before, everything that's yet to come. Not turning away from all of the horror and the fear that's here in this present moment, and that has everything to do with the future and the epidemiology curves of how this virus is expressing in your country and my country and every country. The lessons learned and not learned. And just finding a refuge here in your own heart. I've been emphasizing that. We're all in some sense refugees, but refugees benefit enormously from learning that there's some kind of refuge right inside our own being when we shift from the doing, thinking, emoting mode to not shutting any of that off, but dropping into being. So that's how it is today, right now, right here, wherever you are. This breath coming in, this breath leaving the body, resting in awareness, alone and together. So Soren, you can open it up, and folks, leaving the body.
Bye.
No.
Thank you.
O meu coração está cheio de amor.
Thank you.
So much.
Open it up, and folks, leaving the body.
Sure.
Opportunity.
Attitude.
O meu coração está cheio de amor.
Tomorrow.
From Ireland.
Güle güle. İyi akşamlar. He wants you.
Really good. I'm really enjoying it. Heart is full of joy.
Jon, kendine iyi bak.
Let me do this. I haven't eaten. Can I call you back? I don't know how to get them, but I'll see if I can get them. Okay. Me a few days just to be by myself.
Max.
Awesome.
All right.
Gracias, Sara.
Merci.
Sorry. Here is, we're very Catholic.
Hi for Harry.
Everyone, thank you, Jon. Thank you, Dr.
Again?
Siegler. Thank you, everyone.
So much.
Thank you. Good luck.
He's from France.
Hi, everybody. Canada. Hi.
Até amanhã. Obrigada.
Jon, thank you.
Merci Myriam.
Hello.
Bye.
Hi.
René, merci Massimo.
Stephanie, Cappuccino.
Merci Diana.
very much.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you.
Peace.
Elena.